Are you having sound now? It looks like the fucking microphone was muted. God damn it. Sorry about that. You guys should be able to have sound now, I hope. Sound? Okay. Still no sound. That's strange, because I just turned the microphone on. No, it's not on mute. This should be working. Yeah, it's not on mute. Okay, cool. You guys are getting sound now. Awesome. Fuck. That's happened before. I'm not sure why that happens, because I didn't set it up. How much fat do I consume? 10 or 15% a day. I don't like to go below 20%. And that's the same thing that I tell either my clients as well as people who purchase my ebooks. I don't go below, I don't recommend below 20% fat. And I base that on maintenance calories. So, and I emphasize this because it's really important, because the maintenance calories are what your body needs to maintain health and for your size, for your weight, whatever. So when I say maintenance calories, even if you're in a deficit or you're in a surplus, you only really need to calculate your fat 20% from what your maintenance needs may be. So if your maintenance needs are 2,500 calories, but you're eating at 1,800 or you're eating at 3,000, you can base the 20% on 2,500, even if you're eating at 18 or 3,000 or whatever other arbitrary deficit or surplus you particularly happen to be in. So that's the lowest I recommend. Now you can go higher than that. Some people find higher fat works better for them. I personally find that if I go up as high as 30%, that I feel great. So you might find that you do better with slightly higher fat and slightly lower carbs. That's totally a personal decision. So you're going to have to work that one out yourself. Okay. Somebody says, Cory, I'm struggling with women. Help. In what way are you struggling with women? Like, in what way? I mean, first of all, I want to put out there, I'm not a relationships expert here, okay? So I'm not like a PUA guy. I'm not some love counselor, whatever. I don't claim to have any of those. So, I mean, I can just talk from personal experience, from statistics, from observation and things like that. So logic, basically. So, I mean, let me know what your problem may be and I'll see what I can do to advise. For a lot of guys, it really comes down to confidence. Like when it comes to talking to women, it's merely confidence. Like you might not view yourself as having the value as a person for a particular woman that you might want, or maybe you're shortchanging yourself in some other way. But really, if you approach a woman with confidence, if you believe in yourself, if you believe you have something to offer, you can go a lot further, because confidence is considered attractive to women. So you can go a lot further than you would if you did not display confidence or have confidence in yourself. Now, you know, don't be an outright prick about it, but, you know, be confident. Don't be smug. You can, that's a fine line, I suppose. And some people also mistake confidence for being smug. So that's them, you know, what can you do about that? I know it's not a political channel. What's your opinion on the Jewish influence in the Jewish question? Okay, wow. Look, I don't know what to really say. I need more. Look, it's obvious that there's a lot of Jews involved in media. There's a lot of Jews involved in politics. There's a lot of Jews involved in law and finance, etc. Now, if that's because they're trying to dominate the world, I don't, you know, I can't say that. I don't have any evidence to say that, you know. But I mean, I can see why people are drawing these conspiracy theories, but I need more research. It's not something that I've really I can't say I've really, you know, I don't know if the word red pill is good for here or researched a lot myself, but I don't really know what to say about the Jewish question, to be honest. You know, I don't have anything to say about that. Yeah. But beyond the fact that, yeah, it's obvious that they're involved in a lot of very powerful public venues. That's, you know, but whether there's some malicious intent there, I can't say that or not. It's Christmas in Australia. Well, it's not quite Christmas here yet. It's still Christmas Eve, but you know, Merry Christmas to the Australians, New Zealanders, and everybody on that side of the world. What's better, inorganic veg or organic meat? Look, I wouldn't advise anyone eat meat, period, like at all. Organic, inorganic, the point being is that meat has been shown to be related to, in some ways it's directly related. In some ways there's a good cause to think that it causes cancer. Processed meats, yeah, they're directly linked to cancer, specifically colorectal cancer, and other cancers as well, but colorectal cancer is one of them. But red meats, there's a strong correlation between cancer risk and eating meat. So I wouldn't advise anyone eat meat. I just wouldn't advise it at all. And you don't need it for your health. So yeah. What do I think of Elliot Hulse? I think that a lot of what Elliot Hulse says is bro science. Look, as a trainer, as somebody who's built up some good size and some good strength, I mean, I have respect for that. I think that's awesome. But I don't agree with him on a lot of his assertions. Like, for instance, assertions about soy. I don't agree with him, obviously, on that because the research doesn't agree with him on that. That's a big one for me. And there's been other things too. I can't pinpoint off the top of my head some of the things he said, but there's things I've heard him say before in suggestions. I'm like, wait, that's bro science. It's not actually. Oh yeah, one of them was about the biceps. I forgot exactly what he was saying, but it was a biceps training tip, and it really, what he was suggesting, I don't remember what it was off the top of my head, but it wasn't anything that would make all that much of a difference in your training, to be honest. And I just don't remember what it was anymore, but I remember watching this particular episode. It was a biceps curl technique or something, and I was like, that's kind of bro sciencey. It's not really scientific, but whatever. Will bodybuilding vegan foods come back? I'm not sure what you mean by that. Like, there's not really any food that's specifically bodybuilding. I mean, like, food is food. You can use food for bodybuilding, obviously, by eating enough food and the right kinds of food to put on muscle and support strength. But I guess protein powders, you could say, is a bodybuilding food. But there's average normal people who aren't athletes who use protein powders because they feel like they're not getting enough, or it's easier for them for some reason to consume. Yeah, so I don't know what you mean by that. What's my opinion on Taekwondo for overall health? I mean, any physical activity is going to be better than no physical activity. Now, a better question would be, what's my opinion on Taekwondo for fighting, for self-defense? And my answer to that would be, as it is with any martial art. I don't care what martial art it is. It depends on how it's taught. If you are taught out any kind of application training and freestyle sparring, you're not getting the full benefit. You're not putting your skills to the test against a resisting, unpredictable opponent. And for that reason, you're never really going to understand what it is to fight until, of course, you by some chance, I want to say accidentally, but by some chance, get yourself into a conflict. And then you find that, holy shit, I can't apply my skills because I've never practiced applying my skills. So Taekwondo can be great. Taekwondo can be shit. It's not that the art is necessarily bad. It's how it's applied. It's how it's taught. Now, one thing I don't particularly care for with Taekwondo is the fact that they keep their arms down. They don't guard. They don't keep their guard up like you do in karate or in Muay Thai. They don't guard their head. That's one thing I don't particularly care for with Taekwondo, but their kicks by and large are great. From what I understand, I never practiced it, but I've known people who have done it. There's not a lot of front kicking because they consider it rude. And I personally think front kicking has a lot, like in karate, it's called a maigari, is considered a very effective technique. And it's not too committal, but it's very effective for what it is. I think in Muay Thai, it's referred to as a push kick. They don't really do that. There's also a lot of flashy kicks, like strange spinning, swirling cartwheel kicks in the air and shit, which are ineffectual. Besides looking pretty, they're not really effectual for a fight. But yeah, that's my opinion on Taekwondo. How much protein would you need to take in while losing weight but wanting to preserve and gain muscle? You really don't need much more than about 1 gram per pound of body weight per day as a vegan. That's about 10% higher than what the International Sports Nutrition Organization recommends based on research. And the reason I make it a little higher for vegans is because there is the potential, depending on what kind of foods you're eating, be it like wheat gluten or something else, there might not be as high absorption rate, with the exception of soy. It's a pretty well absorbed protein source. But some foods don't have as high of an absorption rate, biological value as others when it comes to their protein content. So to make up for that, an extra 10%, your diet can give you that little extra protein for anything you might not be absorbing as well. So I say 1 gram per pound of body weight and that's lean body weight to be most accurate for vegans. But if you're really, really in a calorie deficit, like, I mean, you have brought your shit down, and this is studied in research actually. Let's say your calories are down to 40% below maintenance needs. It's been shown to maintain and even gain muscle, yes, gain muscle in 40% deficit, simply by bringing your protein up to about 1.5 grams per pound. And that's a little excessive in other situations, but when you're in a deep deficit calorie-wise, it's advised. And it's actually been shown to work. On trained athletes, by the way, not newbies. So that's actually been shown to work. So generally about 1 gram per pound. If you're in a deep caloric deficit situation like pre-contest, or just trying to really burn fat faster, I don't often recommend going deep because it's really difficult to sustain that. It's even the people in that study by McMaster University found it almost impossible to stick to. Like, they made it through, but there was a lot of moaning and whining amongst the participants that actually stuck with the entire study for a month. And they do need higher protein intake to maintain muscle, if not even build a little muscle. Thoughts on the effectiveness of SARMs? Look, I do not talk about a lot of different kinds of drugs and stuff because I don't know a lot about them. I do know some about SARMs from what I've read. Now, I'm going to tell you right now, when it comes to SARMs, there are a lot of nasty, nasty side effects. And some of these SARMs have not had enough time in the market to be studied. And some of these SARMs have failed FDA drug testing. So understand this. They've made it to the black market, but they've failed FDA because they've caused harm. An example of this, oh, fuck, I can't think of the name of it off the top of my head, but there was a SARM, I just can't think of its name right now, but there was a recent SARM, recent as in the last few years, that actually can cause blindness and cancer. In fact, systemic cancer throughout the entire body. In the rodents that were given, it did not make it the human trial because of the fact of how fucked up it was in the rodent trials, where it caused system-wide cancer gain all over the fucking body, in all sorts of tissue across the body. System-wide cancer gain from its use. That's fucked up, you know. And there was another SARM that came around the same time period that was related to blindness or vision problems. When people were taking it, they were complaining about that. I wouldn't touch this shit. You know, if your goal is to build muscle or lose fat while maintaining muscle or what have you, just do it through diet and exercise. Understand that any drug you take is going to come with risks. And some might be exacerbated by your own genetics. And I'm just telling you that these are risks that if you're going to take them, you're going to have to assume. And some of them could shorten your life, okay, and your quality of life at the very least. So when it comes down to it, unless your job, your financial position is relying on your body being, you know, superhuman, so to speak, there's no real reason for you to take that risk if you just want to look good. You know, there's no reason for that. So that's my opinion. It's not a popular one. There's a lot of people who get pissed at me for saying that. They call me anti-steroids or whatever, but that's my feelings on it. Would you do a debate with Elliot Hulse? He has no knowledge of anything. I'll do a debate with any of these YouTube guys if there's something worth debating, you know, but Elliot Hulse does spew a lot of bro science, you know, but a lot of guys spew bro science. If I'm going to debate Elliot Hulse on bro science, I might as well debate every one of these fitness YouTubers on bro science because there's a lot of it out there, you know. So there has to be a good reason for a debate. You know, I don't want to turn this into a debate channel, in other words. Let's see here. People are saying Merry Christmas and they hope that I'm doing well. Same back to you. I hope you're well as well and enjoy the holidays. Let's see here. What happened to your collab with Ask Yourself? That still needs to be done. You have to, both Isaac and myself are incredibly busy and we just get involved. We keep meaning to work on the project together, but we get involved in other projects or other collaborations in his case. And it just sort of keeps going to the back burner. We really need to just buckle down and fucking do it. But it's got to be a way that, because of time constraints, a way that it would fit both of our schedules pretty well. So maybe what I might need to do is I might need to actually not do a video 1 week and actually consider that collab to be my video for the week for you guys. That's probably the best way to do it, because it would definitely shed a few days of time off my schedule. I spend a few days per video that I put up, generally speaking. Did you know that Hitler was the first world leader to implement animal rights laws and many Germans were vegetarians? I've read that before. In fact, I've seen citations for that before. You know, then I've also seen people argue that that wasn't the case, that Hitler was a fan of sausages, etc. But, you know, I don't know. There's so much information out there. But I have read that before, and I have read that he had pretty authoritarian policies in place to protect animal rights. And I've heard that. So. Can you take part in a marathons while still building or preserving muscle at the same time? You can, but you should certainly increase your calories to make up for what you're going to burn from doing a marathon. Advice for a skinny, malnourished ectomorph. Well, malnourished is the key word there. Eat more food. Eat a lot of food. There's actually a buddy of mine that at the gym that I go to who is an ectomorph. I don't like using the term ectomorph because these somatotypes have been sort of proven wrong, but I do use the term ectomorph to describe anyone who has trouble putting on weight in general. Although you know, no one's really truly fully one of these somatotypes, which is what makes them kind of false, because there are people, for instance, who have trouble putting on muscle but have an easy time putting on fat. And there are people who, you know, put on fat and muscle quite easily at the same time. And there's a lot of different variations out there. So to try to identify people as one of three is sort of disingenuous. But for somebody who is having trouble putting on weight in general, this guy at the gym I know, for instance, is a good example of this. He's built up a pretty impressive physique, and he just fucking eats. He just fucking eats. And what he does is he has 3 main meals a day, and he has, on top of that, like shakes. He uses meal replacement shakes he puts together with like fruit and protein powders and what have you between his meals. Now that's excessive calorie consumption for some people, but for somebody who has trouble putting on weight, that might just be what the doctor ordered. So you just need to increase your calorie intake. And if it's a matter of you having trouble eating the food, like liquid calories are easier to consume. So you might consider liquid shakes. Somebody says there's always time for the red pill. Of course there is. Red pilling is not something that necessarily happens overnight. You can suddenly red pill on a number of subjects just all at once and have a big epiphany. That's happened to me before. But red pilling also can be a slippery slope. In other words, it's one of those kind of things that once you red pill on a few things, you begin to slide down that slope. And once you start the slide, you ain't stopping it. And you'll start red pilling on other things as well. You know, just as you realize that you've been lied to and you find data and information that they tried to bury, you will red pill. And that's just how it works. Yeah, of course it's not an overnight process. Of course there's always time for red pilling and more red pilling. Where can I get B12 on a vegan diet? Which foods have B12? You're going to kind of need to supplement. That's the best advice I can say. You can get it from fortified foods. You can find B12, for instance, in Red Star nutritional yeast. It does have B12 in it, and it's quite a good deal of B12 actually. But B12 doesn't really actively exist in a lot of vegan foods, so it is something you will need to supplement. As people like to say, oh, that makes veganism an unnatural diet. It's like, the reason why I hate that argument is because B12 is a very common deficiency among the general population, and far larger population than what vegans make up, what vegans represent. So B12 clearly is a problem even for omnivores. So when you think about that, B12 is something I think that everybody in our current means of producing food, because we're not out eating dirt, we're not, you know, consuming dirty vegetables, we're not consuming shit or water tainted with shit or dirt tainted with shit or drinking pond water or lake water or what have you. We're not getting B12 in the ways that our ancestors would have likely obtained it. And no body produces B12. Even animals don't produce B12 in their muscle tissue. You know, they have to consume it like we would. And a lot of times animals get it from eating shit. Let's just be real here. They do eat their shit. So But they also eat soil, and that might be rich in B12, because B12 is the dirty vitamin, quote unquote. So it is a common deficiency, and not just amongst vegans. So I would recommend you supplement. Don't just try to get it from dietary means, especially as a vegan. Supplement. And then if you get any extra from, like, nutritional yeast or fortified foods, great. B12 is hard, if not impossible, to actually OD on because it's water soluble. You'll just urinate out the excess. This person asks, I struggle to relate to women. This is the person who said he wanted advice on women. Well, I mean, women are human beings like men, obviously. They're going to have likes and dislikes and interests and everything. My best advice is to talk to them. Do you have trouble relating to other guys? If you do, then there might be some kind of a social hang up that you have to work on. It could be autism. It could be just social awkwardness in some other capacity. But if you don't have a problem relating to guys, think about why you don't have that problem. Like, what do you do to befriend men? Like, do you talk to them? You obviously get to know what their interests are, find a mutual ground, etc. Do the same thing with women. Talk to them, get to know what they're interested in, find mutual ground. Obviously with the end goal being a relationship as opposed to a friendship. But that's another thing guys fuck up on too, is they don't make their intentions clear from the start. Now, that doesn't mean to come on strong, but you should be very clear that you're interested in the girl in a romantic sense. Don't lead her to believe you want to be a friend, because that will friend zone you. And I've seen that time and again. If you let a girl think that you just want to be her friend, they will friend zone you. So make your intentions clear. By the way you pursue, by your actions. Just don't be a creep or come on too strong. That's my advice, because you can push somebody away that way too. Now, again, I'm not an expert in relationships. I'm just talking from experience here and things that I've observed and things that I've read. Hey, Cory, how do you feel to be viewed internationally? Kudos from Meridius. I don't really look. I guess it's weird. I mean, I don't know. I don't know how to answer that question. I can tell you this: I have been recognized in public. And every time I'm recognized in public, it's very weird for me. Like, it's weird that people I don't know, and now it doesn't happen a lot, but when it does happen, I'm not put off by it, but it's weird. Like, I guess I go on my guard a little bit because I don't know what the person wants, and they know me and I don't know them, and it's a little weird. I'm friendly, but it's very weird. So I might be a little kind of quiet at first because I'm not sure. This person saying, hey, Cory, and I've been approached in the subway. I've been approached in the subway trains. I've been approached in Penn Station here in New York. I've been approached at restaurants, of course, at vegan festivals as well. The last vegan festival I went to, Street Fair, I had a girl that wanted to take photographs with me and a couple guys that wanted to take photographs with me. It happens. I don't know how to really answer that question. I produce these videos because I like talking about this shit. And actually, when it started, I was talking with my girlfriend at the time about fitness. And she was like, you know what? Instead of bothering me so much about fitness, because I'm not really interested in talking about fitness all the time, why don't you go make a YouTube channel and talk about fitness there to people who care, basically. So I was like, okay, I'll create a fucking channel. And that's really how it kind of began. Because I just like to talk about this stuff. I enjoy researching it. I enjoy talking about it. And I want to find like-minded people who can benefit from the discussions, really. So I don't know. And that, I guess that comes with being internationally viewed. Although most of my viewers are in the US, UK, and Canada, I will say that, based on the demographics that YouTube provides to me. So most being in the US. Is there any research on how a vegan diet can combat the carcinogenic effects of nicotine and alcohol consumption? I do not recommend. It's kind of like shooting yourself in the foot. You're obviously improving your health being a vegan, if you're doing it right, then. You're improving your health by being a vegan, but then you're smoking or drinking. It's like shooting yourself in the foot. It's like taking a step forward just to take 2 steps back. And it's kind of the same thing with, and I'm going to be doing another video on alcohol very soon, because I've done one in the past, but more of an updated video. It's the same thing where, let's say you go to the gym to lift weights, to look good, to be healthy, to be strong, etc. But then when you leave the gym, you light up a cigarette or you go to a bar and get hammered. It's like taking a step or two forward to have double the steps back. It doesn't make any sense. I would say if you're going to lead a healthy lifestyle all around. Don't try to mitigate bad habits by being a vegan. Instead, try to improve all of your habits to make yourself well-rounded healthy, not just constantly trying to play catch up with the bad habits you still possess. That's my best advice. Let's see here. People are talking so much about Jews in the comments. You know, I don't want to turn this into a political discussion, but like I said, I would need to research the JQ even more. It's not something I've spent a lot of time looking into. I would need to look into it a lot more. There's some things that are just painfully obvious, but there's some things that seem like conspiracy theories to me. And I like to go by the facts, like what the facts say, what the research says, not what I just perceive to be true, because that might be biased. It's my best way to put that. So I like to go by what the research says. And I'm open-minded to anything, really. So, you know, I don't let my feelings stand in the way of learning something. So, what was the darkest moment of my life and how did you manage to get away from it? By the way, since I discovered your channel, I've started to seriously work out and it's very helpful. Thank you. You're very welcome. And I recommend that everybody work out. Anyone who's viewing my channel, even if you aren't somebody into lifting weights or whatever, find some way to lift weights. It will improve your entire quality of life. It will improve your quality of life. Believe me, it's very good for you. So I highly recommend it. Because I like to see people improve themselves. That's one way to improve yourself physically, mentally, emotionally. It's a great way. And if you're having trouble with women, for instance, it's a great way to improve that too. So darkest moment of my life. I suffered from heavy depression when I was younger. I think a lot of teenagers did. And, you know, my parents had me medicated for a bit. I got off that when I was of the right age where I could make the decision to get off that because I didn't have to rely on my parents anymore by law and what they would say. So, I mean, I went through a bad period of depression and I got off the medication because it just made me feel like shit. Antidepressants made me feel like shit. I felt like I was living my life underwater. I don't know how to better describe it. This is really a personal thing to talk about, but I don't mind talking about it because it's just what it is. You know, but this is a long time ago, almost 20 years ago at this point in time. And I went through an incredibly dark depression. A lot of other factors contributed to it as well, personal factors I don't really want to get into. But the way I got off the medication, first of all, because I couldn't live my life on medication. It was affecting everything. My clarity, my willingness to wake up, my energy, everything was affected by these fucking antidepressants. I don't fucking like medication. So when I finally got off those things, I made the conscious decision to turn my life around. Like, the way I looked at it was, and I hope everybody who's suffering from depression, who's hearing this right now, can take heed to this. You have the power to make yourself happy. You have to want to, and you have to consciously make the effort to do it. Find things that, for me, I just found motivation in things I enjoy doing that would bring myself joy. And I did those things. I improved the way I viewed myself. It improved the way ultimately other people viewed me. And it was just a domino effect from there. And I brought myself out of that dark place in my life about 20 years ago to a much happier place in the span of, I'd say, about 5 to 8 years. You know, it can be done. You aren't a victim of your depression unless you allow yourself to be. You can fight it. You know, I'm not going to sit here and deny that depression exists, because it fucking does. And there's a lot of factors that can contribute to it. But there are ways to get out of it, and you don't need to be a slave to medications and chemicals to do that. In fact, I would prefer if you didn't. Unless you ultimately need those kind of chemicals, like right now, because you have some severe condition. Look, I'm not a doctor, so I'm not going to say drop your meds. But that's what worked for me. I guess I didn't have a severe enough form of depression or other comorbidities to make it so that I couldn't just fight it on my own. Anyway, what is the best overall martial art, in my opinion? That there, in my opinion, there is no best martial art, but the more well-rounded a martial art is, the better it is. So Muay Thai and karate are great for stand-up technique. Jiu-jitsu and judo are great for ground technique and grappling and counter-grappling. They're great for all those things. So one could practice Muay Thai and practice jiu-jitsu and be very well-rounded. That being said, karate started out as a much more well-rounded art. There was grappling in karate at one time, but I guess through commercialization, they've just broken it all up. But there is a form of karate that I would fucking love to be able to take part in. It's in Japan. It hasn't quite sprung into the United States yet. You can find it in England. It's in London. There's actually a headquarters in London. And it's definitely all over Russia because Russians eat this shit up. There's a form called Kudo, K-U-D-O. It's known as Daido Juku as well. And basically it's Kyokushin karate, which is full contact, in some cases bare knuckle karate, depending on how high your rank is, combined with judo. And it's awesome to watch. They wear weird space helmets, which I don't totally agree with because that can actually cause you to have more brain damage than just fighting without the helmets on. But at least in practice, they wear them. But if you watch some of the YouTube videos, it's so awesome to see the transition from like going from like full striking karate technique into suddenly grappling. It's awesome. It's basically a karate MMA essentially is what it is, and I think it's awesome, and I would love to take it. So my answer is basically find a well-rounded art, you know, or just practice one striking and one grappling art. There's not really an art that's the best. And any art can be taught like shit. And if it's taught like shit, your use of it's going to be shit. You have to find a good teacher and a good application, good school. And there's got to be chemistry too, really. You have to have chemistry between the other students and the teacher. That needs to be said. Some people don't realize how important that chemistry actually is. Let's see here. Is there any legit scientific evidence supporting the Wim Hof breathing method? I don't know. I know of Wim Hof, yes, and I know of my own personal experiences in the cold. I've personally adapted to the cold quite well. I mean, I can go out in 38-degree Fahrenheit weather with a t-shirt on and a tank top on, and I have done plenty of times. But it took acclimation to get there. Sort of like, you know, I would start like going out in 40-something degree weather, then low 40s, then upper 30s, and I would just acclimate myself to getting used to that by just repetition. But I'm sure there's some science to Wim Hof's thing because he's gotten plenty of people to partake in his methods, and they've done it successfully. And he does some pretty amazing shit. But how much of that might be his own genetic abnormalities, if you want to call it that, and how much of that is actually, you know, something that can be universally taught, I don't know. Hey, Cory, how fast can you run a mile? Also, Merry Christmas. Merry Christmas to you, too. I don't know. I've never tried clocking my running time, to be honest. It's never been something of interest to me. I do running a lot of times purely for cardio. And I frankly prefer using the heavy bag and doing martial arts for cardio. Like hit on the heavy bag. Hit style cardio on the heavy bag is my preferred form of cardio. So I don't really do a whole hell of a lot of running. And a lot of times I use what's in the gym too, because it's hard to run here in New York unless I go to Central Park, and that's a bit of a trek for me. So I do often use treadmills, stair steppers, ellipticals, things like that, depending on what my other goal might be. Stair steppers are great for like getting a good leg workout in as well as cardio. Oh shit, this thing's moving so fast. Let's see here. How much protein and calories to eat on a vegan diet? That really depends on you. That really depends on your body weight. As I've mentioned, protein, about 1 gram per pound of body weight for strength athletes. So goals important too. So about a gram per lean pound is the best way to go about it. But as for calories, it depends on what your goals really are. Are you trying to maintain? Are you trying to lose weight? Are you trying to gain muscle? I'd say that generally about 15 calories per pound of lean body weight is going to be a good maintenance guideline. You might need to adjust a little bit one way or the other, but that's a good starting point. A good starting point for fat loss is around 11 to 12 calories per pound of lean body weight. And a good starting point for muscle gain is about 16 to 17, or maybe for people who have trouble putting on weight, 18 to 20 calories per pound of body weight. And really monitor how you go from there. And again, these are generalizations. You're going to have to see how your body responds week by week by week, and then adjust your calories by about 200 calories, up or down, depending on the response your body gives you. So take those as guidelines, but not necessarily, they're not rules, in other words. Let's see here. How much, somebody already asked that question twice. Somebody says, if you have depression, get into the sunshine more. Low vitamin D is associated with depression. Yeah, it fucking certainly can be. And it's one of the reasons, too, why you find that a lot of people get a seasonal depression when autumn and winter rolls around, because they're darker seasons. They just are. Days are shorter, and they tend to be gloomier. And it's really a time for reflection for a lot of people, too, because the colder weather, you're indoors more often. And even in poetry and music, autumn and winter are associated with old age and death. It's just all around kind of a gloomy thing. But yeah, lower vitamin D levels, and that might be the reason why classically people associate autumn and winter with depression. Can be indeed a factor for depression. Yeah, and it's true. People only need D if they lack sunshine. This is very true. Or I want to say, not necessarily lack sunshine, but your ability to turn it into vitamin D in your body. There are some people who just have they have malabsorption of vitamin D and would do better taking a supplement. Supplementation should be literally a way to supplement a proper diet and a healthful lifestyle to improve your outcomes, to fill in any gaps that you just literally can't do otherwise. Like in the case of taking B12 as a vegan, or D in this case for somebody who has either trouble accessing sunshine or absorbing, creating D from the sunshine. And porn, yeah, well, there is some correlation between porn and depression. They affect sexual performance. There's actually a website. Tara, she's busy right now, but there's a website, I believe it's Your Brain on Porn or something like that, that has a lot of interesting articles and findings about the relationship between porn and the psychology. It's pretty interesting. It's definitely, it gives you thought. It makes you think and gives you some pause to whether you should obviously engage in that kind of behavior. Soy versus peanut, which is a better protein source? They're both fine sources of protein. The only thing you need to keep in mind is that peanuts have higher fat. So if you consume a whole hell of a lot of peanuts, you're getting a whole hell of a lot of calories. And it might throw your macronutrient intake off, depending on how strict you are about that sort of thing. But I mean, if you want to have some peanuts or peanut butter now and then, that's great. You can get protein from that. I think it's something like, in peanut butter, in the case of peanut butter, it's something like 7 grams of protein and a couple tablespoons. I mean, that's not high, but it's not terrible either. It's something. People are like, you're older than I thought. Yeah, I get that a lot. I actually had a friend recently who wanted me to get involved in a business opportunity, and he told that this friend didn't know my age, so when he was asked how old I am, he said I'm 22. Little did he know, I'm much older than 22. But that's just how it is. I mean, I'm sure it's obviously a matter of genetics. It's also a matter of like my diet and limiting my sun exposure, excessive sun exposure, which can cause premature aging, and also just my routine to take care of my skin, which I do. As you get older, it's one of those kind of things that if you want to maintain a youthful appearance, if you want to improve your quality of life, and you just want to take care of yourself, you'll do. Let's see here. Will I get any drawbacks from eating too much fiber? I consume approximately 1 kilogram of whole grains daily. Yeah, I mean, there can be drawbacks, especially intestinal drawbacks. You might want to, drink plenty of water. I would advise that to flush the system, to flush the excess fiber out. You know, higher fiber is associated also with flushing out excess estrogen. You know, it can help in, obviously, with digestion and intestinal health as well. And you know, not to get too, you know, dirty, you know, explicit here, but shitting, it can help with your quality of your bowel movements too. What's my opinion on green juice? I don't really have much of an opinion on it. I think that you're better off just eating your vegetables. I mean, juicing them, it can be useful, I suppose, but I believe it also takes out some of the it reduces some of the fiber and nutrient content by juicing, if I'm not mistaken. And also, you know, some vegetables, they can have a negative impact, like oxalates, for instance, like in the case of kale, by having too much of it, which might put some stress on your kidneys, for instance. So I don't really recommend necessarily juicing. I prefer you would just eat your vegetables as you would with a meal or something. How much do I? Oh, he's talking to Swag Kid. Cory, I am 17 and I have testosterone of 349 nanograms per deciliter. How can I bring it up? I sleep 8 hours a day and lift weights 5 times a week. You're still in the healthy range for men, so it's not going to affect your muscle gain. You know, it may be in the lower end of healthy, but it's still healthy range. It's not going to affect your muscle gain. It will affect your fat loss to some degree. My best advice is to make sure you're eating plenty of dietary fat. You say you're already sleeping enough, that's fine. You lift weights, that's fine. Maybe try reducing your weightlifting to about 4 times a week. Maybe you're overdoing it. I don't know. Too much lifting can also raise cortisol. So perhaps it's about finding that happy balance, you know, and not overtaxing your body either. You know, I don't know if you're smoking. I don't know if you're drinking. I don't know if you're using drugs. There's a lot of factors that can depress testosterone levels. You know, are you under a lot of stress? That can depress testosterone levels too. You know, you might try an ashwagandha supplement that has been shown to help balance the hormones out. So if you do have an imbalance in, like, you know, or you're experiencing stress and you just can't get out of a stressful scenario because life throws stress at you, it's just life. Ashwagandha has been shown to reduce stress in placebo-controlled double-blind studies, to reduce perceived stress as well as reduce cortisol and bring testosterone up subsequently. Understand that it's not going to boost testosterone on its own. It's going to optimize things. It's going to reduce certain things and bring other things back up to a better, healthier level. So you might give that a go. So yeah, that's my best advice. You don't qualify for TRT because you weren't low enough. You're still within the healthy range by almost 100 or about 100 nanograms per deciliter. So those are things you can try to do that might improve your scenario quite a bit. If you do drink alcohol, I'd say stop. If you do smoke, I'd say stop. You know, if you're overexerting yourself in the gym, I'd say reduce a bit. 4 times a week should be fine, like an upper lower split. Get in and out within about an hour's time. You know, and keep getting plenty of sleep and make sure you're eating enough dietary fat. You know, these are the best things you can do for yourself, and see how that improves. Anyway, my worry is that if the low testosterone will affect my other aspects of my life, like sex drive and drive to succeed, been struggling with, not if it's in healthy range. You shouldn't really notice too much of an effect on that if it's in the healthy range. Now, like I said, fat loss might be slower a bit for you if your testosterone's lower, but your quality of life in general shouldn't be that much affected, generally speaking, as long as you're in the healthy range. Concerned about it, speak to an endocrinologist and see what they say. That I'm not a doctor, so the best advice would be to speak to an endocrinologist. I want to put that out there. I don't ever want anyone to think that my advice should ever replace professional medical advice, because it shouldn't. I am not a doctor. I don't make claims to be a doctor. You know, I'm just a guy who reads a lot and researches a lot. I don't have a degree in any of that. So, you know, just take my advice as simply that, as my advice, not as the gospel, basically. Somebody says, I'm really enjoying your content this year. Looking forward to 2018. Merry Christmas, everyone. And to you as well. What is my ancestry? Rob K asks. I am primarily Irish. I am next most German. Well, Germanic in general. This is according to 23andMe. Next most, I am, so third down, I am Scandinavian, and it appears to be of Norwegian origin. Next most down, and we're getting to like the real smaller percentages here. I'm also Iberian, and what was the other one? Not Sicilian. Fuck, it's an Italian island. It's off the coast of Italy. Just it's not coming to me right now, but there's a little bit of that in there as well. It's the same. It's what Franco Colombo, the bodybuilder. It's what he is, where he's from. I just can't think of it right now off the top of my head. But there was a little bit of Spanish and a little bit of that in there as well. But it's primarily Irish, German, and Scandinavian. It's primarily where my ancestry lies, mostly Irish. Shit, this thing's moving so fast. Let's see here. Thanks for asking my question. Somebody says that you're welcome. Silly question. What are your lifts on your bench, squat, and deadlift? Let's see. My deadlift's about 500. And that depends on the day too. Like right now, I'm having a problem with my abdominal muscles. I must have pulled them. So my squat and my deadlift and my squat have been down this week. My bench not so much. My squat and deadlift have been down a little bit this week because I can't go full out. I did something doing incline sit-ups. I think I repped too quickly and I pulled something on the I guess it's my left side, the viewer's right side of my body, my left side. I pulled something and it fucking sucks. It fucking sucks. I can barely, sometimes I bend over to pick something up and it begins to twitch. Fucking hell. It's a pull though. I don't think it's a hernia because of the locations and I can't find any bumps. So I don't think it's a hernia. I have had hernias in the past when I was younger. So I know a bit about what they're like from experience. I had a pretty bad hernia. I had a quadrilateral. But sorry, this is getting off topic. My squat, I'm not a power lifter, so I'm giving you some numbers based on like where I last left off. My squat was around 315 for reps, like 8 reps or something. My deadlift is around 500, but that's around 5 reps. Something right now, I wouldn't even shoot for that because it'd fucking kill me, my abs. So I just kind of keep it a little lighter at the moment. My bench sucks cock because I have really long fucking arms and it's a lift I want to get up. So it's around 250 for a max out, which is not that great. I want to get it higher than that. And I'm really trying to work on that. But with these long ass arms, it sucks. So I'm trying to build my triceps up. I'm actually currently applying some West Side and 5-3-1 methods, trying to get my bench up, specifically my bench up, because I feel just like I could do better than that, or at least better for my body size. So yeah, that's not the best lift in the world. It sucks dick, but it is what it is. My triceps are high insertion. It sucks ass, but I'm trying everything I can to work on that. And that's why I advise everybody, if you want to get better at a lift, just keep practicing it and try to practice the accessories that make a difference. For instance, with bench press, one thing I'm learning from West Side is that band pushdowns are a lot better than regular cable pushdowns because you have that constant tension at the very bottom, that hard peak contraction, which apparently helps with the lockout on the bench. Other things are like I'm doing JM presses a lot now, which are really, really interesting and kind of fun. I like the JM press. And incline close grip pressing I'm doing as well right now, which is kind of it's a different stimulus on my triceps that I've never felt before. And I'm hoping all this leads to a better bench. I'd like to try to build my bench up from what it was by applying some of these new methods that I've never really done before because I'm not a power lifter. Most of my life, most of my lifting life, that is, I've lived as a bodybuilder. And I didn't really care about numbers any more than I needed to in the sense of ensuring that I was progressing every week. And I didn't always just do the compound lifts all the time. Like, for instance, I might go a month or two without squatting, and instead I'm doing front squatting or something as opposed to back squatting. Or, maybe I'm doing more lunges as a bodybuilder than I was doing squats for a while. I would rotate my exercise selections as a bodybuilder because for me, for most of my lifting time, it's been about how much muscle can I gain, not how much I can build my lifts up, my specific lifts up. So I'm trying to change that now about myself. What do I think of vegan protein powder and eat real vegan protein food? Look, protein powder is a supplement. It's something to fill in a gap. If you need more protein in your diet and you're having trouble working it in calorie-wise, or you're just having trouble consuming that much protein, then protein powder can help. When you go to the gym and you lift and you want to get some quick protein in, let's say you like me, you live in a city and you're not going to be going straight home afterwards, and it might be an hour or two till you get home. And you've got shopping to do or what have you, you have mass transit to take, whatever you've got to do, walking, what have you. Protein powder can be a quick, easy, portable way to get that nutrition in after a lifting session that you would otherwise be waiting a while for to sit down for an actual meal. So look at protein powder as a convenience and as a supplement, not as something that's a requirement. That's the best way to look at it. What are the best cryptocurrencies to invest in? I am not an expert on this. I am dipping my toes into cryptocurrency. As you guys will see down in the description, I do share my Bitcoin Cash, and my Ethereum wallets. I've heard some people saying that Monero is going to be better than Bitcoin for stability reasons. That's at least one of the factors. But I'm not a master. You know, I don't claim to be an expert on cryptocurrencies. I'm just dipping my toes in a little bit. It's a very volatile. I mean, it might shoot up a hell of a lot, but it can also collapse a lot. And right now, for instance, with the case of Bitcoin, anybody who gets in now is really getting in a lot of ways behind the. You know, you're behind the curve. You're not ahead of the curve. So you're kind of getting in late, sort of. So you might want to consider some of the other altcoins as opposed to Bitcoin. And Monero is one certainly to consider. And there's others as well that people rate as being worth looking at and considering and watching. But I'm certainly not like, I wouldn't say I'm like obsessed. I'm not in a cryptocurrency obsession or craze either. And there's a lot of investors like Warren Buffett, for instance, who are adamantly against cryptocurrencies. So there's a lot of views, conflicting views out there. Anyway, in regards to having low testosterone levels, it would be worth checking out the various forms of pine pollen that the lost herbs sell as well. I don't really have anything I'd say about that. But if it involves the use of bees, it wouldn't be vegan. So just anybody who's reading that who's a vegan, it might. I don't know much about it, so maybe I'm wrong, but I'm just putting that. Don't be so hard on yourself. Your bench is okay for your height. Try doing half lifts. Well, Christians, thank you for putting that out, Christian. I guess I'm hard on myself because I'm very competitive with myself, and I want my bench to be higher. You know, given my leverage, literally when I put my arms to my side, I can almost touch my fucking knees. That's how bad they are. But I am doing things like, I have this really cool toy. I call it a toy. It's called the bench blocks. I got it. I know it's basically just like a fucking yoga or some kind of Pilates like block. Basically, it's been carved into to various hooks and whatnot. And basically, what it is a little block that has different levels of like holes dug into it, slots dug into it. That what you do is you attach it to your barbell. So you don't need somebody to lay boards on your chest as you're benching to give you a board press. You can do board presses on your own, and it snaps on and snaps off, and it holds tight. And you can do anywhere between 2 to 5 inch board presses with it, and it's something you can use solo. So, and I train solo most of the time, except when I call out for a spot or something. I do train solo for the most part. And it's a great tool to have for that. I also use things like fat grips. I also have grip force. Do a video on grip force because I found it to be incredibly useful for increasing your grip strength, and that translating to better deadlift. I should do a video on the grip force and how I apply the grip force. It's a really fucking cool tool. But I have the extreme fat grips. I have the regular fat grips. I have the grip force. I also have this bench blocks thing. I have a bunch of different tension bands that I use for push downs. All these things to help up my main lifts because I've got this new focus on trying to build my main lifts more than what I previously ever invested into them. Cory, what has the martial arts training been recently in general? For me, my martial arts training has been exclusively Japanese. I have an incredible respect for the Japanese and an incredible respect for the Japanese martial arts. And it's been basically, I've done things like a little judo, a little jujitsu, taijutsu, but a whole hell of a lot of karate. I practice Okinawan karate, and I practice mainland Japanese Kyokushin form karate. Actually, the Kyokushin form karate was a hybrid of World Oyama. My sensei was World Oyama, but he had left the organization, and he was learning Okinawan as well, but I already had a background in Okinawan before I ever did Kyokushin, a long background. And he was learning Okinawan forms as well, and he applied the two. So it was kind of like I'd say an 80 to 90% Kyokushin with like a 10 to 20% range of Okinawan injected in there a little bit. Mostly you'll see it in the kata. That's how he put it in. It was mostly noticeable in the kata, and specifically the footwork in the kata was very Okinawan sensibility as opposed to mainland Japanese. Like something Okinawan, like for instance, there's I can't think of his name right now. The sensei who runs it's a Japanese based art. You can't find it in America. Yashiro Sensei has an Okinawan form, and Uechi-ryu, I think it is what it's called. But anyway, he applied his sensibilities that were very different than what you'd find, say, in Shotokan to Kyokushin. So really, it's kind of a hybrid of Japanese styles for me. I've seen your daily food routine. You don't think your whey is highly dependent on protein powder as a protein source? I do throw it in there because when I need to match up my calories, I do use a lot of protein powders. But right now, currently, my current diet isn't more than a couple scoops a day. I have one in the afternoon for a quick shake, because I'm always on the fly in the afternoon. And I have a scoop post-workout that I have as well. Because it's just easier for me because I'm leaving the gym and I'm walking about and I have a lot to do, and it's just a quicker way to get some nutrition in. Anyhow, it's about 1 o'clock now, and my computer is going to fucking die on me soon because I didn't bring the charger here. So I'm going to cut this at this point. The next public Q&A, as I was saying earlier, is going to be January 7th at noon. But I'm going to be doing private Q&As now for Patreons, people who sign up on Patreon. So if you look down in the description, you'll find my Patreon link, because I'm offering rewards now, and I'll be doing private Q&As on the off Sundays from the public Q&As. And you can sign up to get involved in those. So just for a heads up to those who are watching, who are now Patreons, since I have a few of you, the first private Q&A is going to be next Sunday at noon. The following Sunday will be a public, and I'm going to alternate public, private, going forward. And those who are signed up to the highest rewards option, on the 31st, I will send around the workout for February. So that's the highest rewards option. You can check all that out with the Patreon. Other than that, I want to thank you all for tuning in, and I hope you all have a great Christmas and a great New Year, although I'll see you guys in a video before the New Year. Stay safe, stay strong, and see you around. Take care. Thanks for tuning in.